What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. Today we are talking about that you cannot control your spouse into somebody that you feel you deserve or that you want to have. Babe, I think that's something we've seen with so many couples over the years who we've worked with, whether that's the husband, whether it's the wives, whether it's them as a couple. It's always about control.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about control.
Yeah.
It's about their needs, what they want, and what is best for them, and they want control in so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even babe, it's just like, even if that's good intentions of like, I want them to change because they're being an alcoholic or they're watching porn or they have anger issues. That's great that you want them to change. And yes, they should, but
there's a way to do that.
You can't, right? Like, I'd love for you to dive into that, babe, because it's like, you can't control them, force them, manipulate them, sex reward them to do any of that.
No, you have to encourage them, because if somebody tries, like if Tommy tried to control me into doing something, it's going to make me want to rebel and do the exact opposite. I'm not going to want to do it if somebody's like trying to force me to do it.
Yeah.
You know, a marriage should be a partnership. We should encourage each other, support each other, you know, to do those things. But anybody like knows, tell a teenager to go do something, they're going to do the exact opposite. Any kid, you know. It's the same thing in a marriage. Like, we can't force each other to do things.
You know, great point on that, babe. You know, like we were just talking about today. So we have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old, and we were just talking about our 17-year-old primarily. I was like, babe, like he's just become like such an obedient 17-year-old, and not because we're his dictator or anything like that. But what was funny is we were laughing about it was when he was young, from the time I would probably say a year and a half to the time he was probably 13.
He was a wild man.
Wild energy through the roof, like
always moving
all over the place. And to now watch him be so obedient, and just if we ask him to do something, he just goes and does it. But I think with my point of saying all of that is, babe, I think where we've done a great job with our kids, but this is because we do it with each other, and they see that with us doing that to each other.
Yeah.
We set the standard in that. Yeah. Is that we always ask them if they could do it. Hey guys, if I would really love it if you go do this right now, that'd be great. You know, here's why, blah, 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 blah. We don't tell them, hey,
you need to go do this right now. Like, they're not going to want to do that.
Right. And if it's like, get off your video games right now, go do the dishes. And if they complain, be like, I don't care, get off them, go do it right now. Right. Like, no, it's like, that's not how we act.
Right. Like, it would really help me out if you could do this. You know, would you mind going and help me out by doing this? You know?
Yeah.
Then they're going to want to.
Pre-frame it with like, but I'm really busy right now. I'm about to jump on a call and I really need this done. Like, would you mind jumping off of the video games real quick and coming and helping me with this? They're usually like, yeah, no problem. But if I just tell them, they'll do it because I'm technically their boss. But it's going to start building up frustration in that
resentment.
That was my dad. When I really look back, like, he didn't have me do too many crazy things. It was the way he presented it to me that just frustrated me. And still to this day, he tries to tell everybody what to do. And so in this marriage, you can't do that, guys. And so let's just use the frame of the thing. If somebody is doing things that they're not supposed to do, we'll do it as if, let's do the woman to the man first. That you're trying to control me into change. Let's say I was struggling with porn and, you know, anger and closed offness and all of that stuff. And I was lukewarm in my faith and just wasn't a good husband. And you were leading yourself pretty well, at least better. And you were like, he needs to change. And like, I've hurt your feelings. I've done all of that things, all these other things that have ruined the marriage. The only way we're going to build that marriage is not by you saying, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this, and this. Now you can share those things as, here's the thing. I need you to stop watching porn. You need to get the anger under control. Us need to be equally yoked in the faith, and we both need to be searching the Lord in these things.
And give them reasons why for every single one of those, just as you were saying with the kids, like same thing, like you need to stop watching porn. Like, well, why? You know, like because it's doing this to me, or it's, you know,
how it makes me feel.
Right. You know, like explaining each one of those things. So that way it's not just like, you need to do this.
It's just not like, no, you do stop. And then typically they call names. You're a freaking loser. Yeah. I can't believe it. You're 42 years old. You need to suck it up and freaking start being an adult. You know, like, it's like, that's never going to do it. Or just watching over their shoulder the whole time, like with like a clipboard, taking notes. Are they screwing up or are they not? Watching every single thing that they're doing. No, present it to them, like Diane said, with love of why. and then give them the space to do it and lovingly encourage them doing it. But if it's like, you need to do this or else, and it's like they couldn't make a move on you, no, you're not touching me until you clean up your freaking act.
Especially if we're talking about like me coming to you of doing that, then that's making me like the, I don't want to say masculine role, but like a dominant role more so than the man. I'm not saying like a man is, it's okay to tell a woman what to do, but I'm just saying, you know, me coming to, like, if it was a woman coming to a man, that's really like taking over the dominance as opposed to just supporting and encouraging.
Well, marriage is a partnership.
Yeah.
Rather than a control fest. Yeah. Now, as a Christian couple, the man is technically the leader of the house, but it's still a partnership.
Right.
On that. The wife will submit, but submission doesn't mean dominance. Where I just come home and I say, babe, the food better be on the table by 6. After that, I'm going to go to the gym. And when I get back, you need to have the kids to bed. And when I get back, you need to be waiting ready to hang out with me by that time. And then when they get back, if it doesn't happen, babe, I told you needed to have the kids to bed by this time. You need to fix it. That's not what a leadership role is at all. It's not what it is.
I'd be like, heck no, I'm not doing any of that.
What a leadership role looks like would be like, babe, I'll be home around 5 or so. Do you think that would be the great time for us to have a dinner? Does that work good for you and those things? And then be like, baby, I really want to go to the gym. She already knows why I go to the gym, that it's a great stress relief from a hard days of work. And it's my work is really emotional and I need to be at the gym to really kind of go to that. She knows I value my health and why I value my health because I've talked to her about it so much. And be like, if it's all right with you, I would love to go to the gym at that time. And then when I get back, I'll help you get the kids together and then we'll hang out. Does that sound good? Like I'm leading with a plan, but I'm not telling her she needs to do that plan.
Right. You're double checking with the person, make sure the times work fine. You know, you're going through all the details together and making those decisions together, or at least it feels like you both are a part of it.
Right. I'm the supervisor with that of like, here's our plan. What do you think? And then she could give me some things like, okay, cool. Well, how about we do this? Right. Like I'm still guiding it, but she has a huge part in it. So that's that. But oftentimes it's like what we've said is there's one spouse is trying to force the other spouse to do things. You cannot control each other. It puts pressure, unknown expectations, all of that. And it's not going to go good at all. Ever going to go good if you're forcing them to do this type of things. Intimacy and connection are built on trust, not control. You have to be able to give somebody the rope. Well, I've given them the rope too many times and nothing's changed. Well, have you led in the right way? Have you been sitting in the back and just like frustrated with them because they're not meeting your needs? You know how you get rid of what forcing them to do things? You stop becoming a selfish person. I don't need anything from Diane. Nothing. Zero. Zip. Zilch. None. Do you need anything from me?
No.
Right. Nothing.
I want things from you, but I don't need them.
I desire things from you, but I don't need those things. Yeah. Well, don't I always hear men, well, don't I have needs too? Do you, bro? Like, really? You need to have sex with I need to have sex with
You don't need anything besides God.
Dude, like, you clearly are not a Christian. You don't understand what God can do to fill your cup up. You don't understand any of that. It's crazy what will happen when you get your priorities in the right line. I'm going to read you something real quick, guys. And we just got this today. I haven't posted in our stories or anything like that. I'm going to, let me see here. Boom, boom, boom. We confess. Between us, never had a. So I'm about to read you guys a really amazing testimony here. Okay. He was talking about, this guy in our program was talking about how him and his wife, they were just like this a certain way in their marriage, but it got to a spot to where he got the things correct in his life that we teached. And he said it instantly removed the barrier between us. That night was a connection like we had never before because they were communicating in the right ways, putting God first. She had offered, like basically tried to have sex the night before. They had been sleeping in other rooms. And he was like, babe, I don't even want to come back to the bedroom tonight. I feel like we need another night apart because I just want to make sure that this isn't just about intimacy. I want to go spend some time with God tonight. And then tomorrow we'll come back together. And she was like, all right, cool. And what he said was that night when he came back was a connection like we had never had. easily the greatest sex we have ever had, because the first time in our 15 years of knowing each other, we were doing things God's way with absolutely nothing hiding among us. It was an incredible feeling. Best of all, we prayed together afterwards. We still have work. It isn't perfect, but God is good and just needed our full attention. He truly works good for all those who love him. The last thing he said, and also I want to encourage a lot of you guys. He said, one last thing. I have to say it. It's been on here, and I have my heart to apologize to Tommy McAllister and Diane McAllister. I did not believe in their program at first. Some dude on Instagram is probably this who he is. But I got pushed by God to DM Blueprint to him. And that was the best decision I have made in years and years. You guys gave me the direction. I didn't have to hear what God wants. A literal blueprint with my steps. My engineer brain needs that. What you have created is nothing short of amazing collection of godly men that people like me just don't have right now. I am more driven today than ever before and have no fears of getting complacent. I'm going to finish out what I'm doing now, but can't wait to make the next best investment into myself. Guys, he said it, the amazing sex, right? That's what everybody listening to this really, really wants, right? Is this like this amazing marriage, all of that. He had to die to himself. He had to go sleep in the other room. He had to confess to his wife that he was watching porn on the side. And it wasn't just because his wife sucked. It was because sometimes he got rejected. He didn't want to put an extra burden on her. So he was just watching porn to make up for the gaps when they weren't having sex. He confessed it to her. It broke her heart. That made them sleep in other rooms. Their communication was terrible. But because he confessed it, it brought them together. Then they started growing. They started talking about it. She shed tears. They got together. But had she said, you're sleeping in the other room, and until I can see your phone for 2 months straight that shows me that you're not watching porn, then maybe then we can start having talks about this. But until then, don't even bring up anything to me about anything in life. You need to prove yourself to me. It wouldn't have gone good.
No.
He would have been like, screw you.
And it would have put so many more barriers, more than they already had in between them.
A ton of different barriers between them. But she said, you know what? I'm feeling really hurt. I feel like we need to sleep in separate beds. I just need a little bit of space. She gave him the space for them to both kind of just like, let me decompress. Let me think on this. Let me pray through this. Let me work through this. Then when they come back and they talked through things and talked about more and more and more. Well, guess what that built? The vulnerability led to connection. Connection leads to love. And that makes lovemaking. Most couples in marriage do not make love. They have sex. It's about like, hey, you're looking hot. I haven't had an orgasm. I haven't got off.
It's about getting off, basically. Yeah.
I haven't got off in a little bit. God, bend over. Let me pound that booty. Like literally, like that's what guys think. It's like, well, yeah, man, that's what, dude, don't you want that? Like,
that's fine occasionally, but not every single time is it just to get off. It's about building that spiritual connection between the two of you. That's what God created it for.
He said the best sex they've had in 15 years, and they were still pretty having regular sex 1 to 2 times a week. So for 15 years, to be able to go from how many times they had sex, 1,000 times, 2,000, 3,000, to now having the best sex of their life after 15, been married for 15 years. Come on now. Why? Because the spiritual things, because they're becoming a team, as the Bible says, to become one. It's not about him controlling her or her controlling him. Yeah. When typically the men, when his needs aren't getting met, well, you know what? I'm not going to talk to her. I'm not giving her emotional intimacy. I'm going to shut her down. And then she's like, well, he's not giving me what he wants, and I'm going to shut him down. And it's just like, no, you're trying to control each other into becoming somebody you want to do. Right. Want them to be. It's the best advice I ever got. I've showed this on here many times, where a pastor years and years and years ago, when I was frustrated with Diane because she was not following God, she wasn't reading the Bible, going to church, nothing. And I was frustrated. He said, man, in her own time, you just become the man that you're becoming and show the fruit in your life, and it'll happen. Sure enough, it happened better and more than I could ever imagine. That's the crazy part about it. He didn't say, well, you're the leader of the house. You need to sit her down and you need to say, well, this is God's way. You need to start reading the Bible. As a family, we're going to church this Sunday and we're going to Sabbath. I don't care what your finances are like. We're going to tithe 10%, and this is what it is. And this is, I'm putting my foot down. That's not what you do. You talk about it. And if they're not there, you do your part. You lead by example. You go to church. You read the Bible. You become your heart changed. This guy's heart changed So much that he let his wife know that he had a porn addiction. His heart changed. That's what happens when God gets to your heart. I was watching a reel yesterday on Instagram, babe, and it was so good. And what it was talking about was, it said, when you read the Bible 1, 2, or 3 days a week, there's little changes. And they've done these studies on like what happens in people's lives. And I think they even did like brainwave things and all this other stuff, crazy stuff. That 1, 2, or 3 days a week barely changed your life. But at 4, when it got to 4, it was like the graph chart like went through the roof. So imagine 5, 6, and 7 times a week. And that, I don't want to say that's just, but that's just from reading the Bible.
That's because it's a manual for our life. People don't realize it.
And you get convicted. It changes your heart.
Yeah.
You see people differently.
Yeah.
All of this stuff. It breaks down walls. And then you're not like, oh, that Joe Biden F him or Donald Trump F him. Like, no, you don't have that hate in it. I just went and got my hair cut moments ago. The guy who cuts my hair is gay. I've only started going to him a few times here, and he's done a phenomenal job, like perfect how I like it. He lives like his spots at like near our house. It works great. The price is great, all of that. And when I was sitting there today, we were having a great conversation. I was just thinking to myself, now I don't agree with his sin. I'm 100% against that. But as a human, I love that guy. I love him. That's what I left today feeling. And God was like, that's my child. And I was like, man, God, thank you for making him. Now, that's between him and God to work on that area of his life that he needs to work on. But I'm not in there to tell him he's a sinner and a loser and I'm going to avoid him and he's an idiot and all these things. No, I'm just going to love on this guy, show the fruit in my life. And as I still go to his hair, I bet you we're going to get in some deep conversations eventually.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But I have no agenda, no expectations. I'm not going to try to control him into becoming a Christian or not being gay. I'm not going to control him. I'm going to lead as me, let the light shine in my life. And if that's what convicts his heart and gets him to those spots, then awesome. Same thing in marriage. In his own time, I'll say about him, in our own time. So wives, I don't care if your husband's a dirtbag and he was sleeping with the neighbor. You still can't control him and force him into things. Still can't.
Yeah.
So my encouragement for all of you guys is remove control from your spouse. Focus on yourself. I just did a post in our community last night, babe, and I don't even know if you have time to read it yet, but
I have not.
It's about, there's guys that obviously, because there's people who've been in our program for a while, and there's guys who are week 1, right? Certain guys I'll see that have their wife as an idol. They are just, their wife is the center of their universe. Their wife's more important than God and all these other things. And it's like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. You have to be able to get yourself to a spot where it's like, I love my wife. I'm going to pour onto her. I'm going to love on her through her sins, through her flaws, through all of that. And just because I love on her like no other, and because I have the fruits of the spirit of joy and gentleness and faithfulness and happiness and self-control and those fruits of the spirit, that she will eventually be like, oh my God, my husband is such an amazing man. I gotta do better. And so that's the same thing as when I don't want my wife on a pedestal.
Yeah.
She's my everything outside of God. But serving God's people is my wife. It's my kids. It's all of you. It's all everything else. It's just as important as serving my wife.
Yeah.
And my mission carries on whether Diane's with me or not. And same with her. And so guys, stop trying to make your spouse into you. Both ways. Love your spouse into transformation instead of forcing your spouse into transformation. And guys, one last thing. If you want a transformation like this guy had in our community, I literally just got that today, the message in the community.
And we get them like almost daily as it is, but that was a good one.
Totally. It blows my mind, and it almost brought me to tears. And I'm not a dude who cries, and I'm against anybody who does. I just weird sometimes it comes out. I was even asking God today that, why don't I cry? And I was just so humbled. And of the caliber of men are in our community and the lives that are changing. If you want your life to radically change, there should be a link down below this. You can go ahead and click it, and it'll take you to a free training. Implement that, book a call with our team, whatever, and come get your life changed. It's going to take, as he said, some trust and a financial investment. But I promise you, there is nothing There's no dollar amount that you can get what he just found. No dollar amount.
No.
Like literally, let's even say it was $1,000,000. I would pay literally right now. If you told me I didn't have this life that we had right now, and you told me this would cost you $1,000,000, I'd take a loan out of the bank to go get this life that I have now.
I would too.
Because years ago I wanted to kill myself. So that showed you where like life was at.
Yeah.
It's worth it. But so many people go, oh, I just don't have the money for that. It's like BS. Yes, you do. You just don't want to make the sacrifice to go and do it.
Yeah.
Go get it. He said, I owe them an apology because I said, I don't believe in this. And guess what he got? His life radically rocked and he's never going to go back. His marriage is on fire. He's finding self-love. I bet you his career is going to take off in ways they've never seen before. Everything's fallen into place.
And it's only going to get better.
Only get better. He's been in the program, I think he said 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Come on now. So anyways, guys, and if you're listening to this, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell on there so it notifies you when we have a new video that comes out. It means the world to us. And if you're on Spotify or Apple, one of those platforms, please rate it a 5-star. I can't tell you how much we're really pushing into just love on other people. It matters a lot. So guys, I love you. God bless you. Take care.
Bye.